Hey friends, hope you're well. So I've been using the Switch 2 for just over a month now, and after many hours of gaming, here is my full honest review. Is it really that good? What issues have I run into, and is it worth upgrading from the original Nintendo Switch? I'll show you how I've used the Switch 2 around the home and out and about, the games I've tested, plus my likes and dislikes with this console. Okay, let's start with the games. The Nintendo Switch 2 launched with really only one real exclusive, which is Mario Kart World, an addictive and super fun game that I've sunk many hours into already. There's also a Welcome Tour minigame that shows off how capable the Switch 2 and new Joy-Cons are. I just wish that there were more exclusives at launch, because if you're not a Mario Kart fan, then you're not missing out on much in the first month. But to be fair, most consoles launch with a limited set of games to begin with. We've also had some Switch games receiving a Switch 2 glow up, which allows them to run at an updated 4K resolution 60 frames with better visuals and performance. This includes Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and Super Mario Odyssey, and the updated games are actually quite a lot better. I've even started a new playthrough for Tears of the Kingdom and sunk a lot of hours into it, and it's absolutely crazy just how noticeably different the Switch 2 edition is. Everything is noticeably brighter, it's smoother, and the load times are almost non-existent when fast traveling. Plus, the new navigation and node system is a great addition for a second playthrough. But yeah, most games now load a lot faster thanks to the Switch 2's faster storage and memory, so less time staring at load screens waiting to continue playing. The fact that the new enhanced versions of these games have enhanced textures, higher resolution, and even longer draw distances is incredible. It really does look like a big step up from the original games. So if you have a TV or monitor that supports 4K 120 frames, you will appreciate just how good the updated games look. I'm using the 77-inch LG G4 OLED, and it supports the Switch 2's updated specs, and I've been blown away by how much better the visuals look compared to the original Switch. Now, thankfully, the Switch 2 has backwards compatibility, so your original Switch gaming library can be played on the Switch 2 no problem at all. It's also great that it's easy to port previous save files so you don't lose your precious progress in previous Switch games. Just go into System Transfer in Settings and it'll automatically do it for you. Some older games even benefit from the Switch 2's new hardware for faster load times and smoother gameplay. And speaking of faster and smoother experience, even the Nintendo eShop has been transformed. The user interface and load times is so much better. There's no more slow and sluggish browsing on the eShop like on the first Switch. And this year we're going to see some awesome games released like Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, and even Borderlands 4 later in the year, so there's games to look forward to. So let's talk about one of the best things about the Switch 2, which is the new Joy-Con 2 controllers. When they first announced it, it didn't look all that different to the original Joy-Cons, but after a month using them, I can absolutely say they're a lot better. They're half an inch bigger, so they feel a lot more ergonomic in hand. I always felt the Joy-Con ones were so small and cramped to play with. One of the new features of the new controller is the much talked about mouse mode. This mode is a game changer, especially for the first person shooters like Metroid Prime 4. All you have to do is place the Joy-Con flat on a surface and it activates a new mouse mode. And you know what? It's way more precise and smooth than I thought it would be. It's improved my aiming compared to using just the joysticks, but I have to say it does get uncomfortable when playing for longer periods. But the mouse mode is honestly really good. I managed to finish top 5 in Fortnite with it, and it's definitely worth trying out. There's also a new important button on the Joy-Con, and this is the C button. It activates Nintendo's new game chat feature, which is pretty cool. It allows you to finally use voice chat with your friends in a party, and even video if you plug in a supported USB-C webcam. But you will need to be subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online to use this feature. So another new feature of the controller is the enhanced HD Rumble 2. It gives you a much more improved vibration experience, and it feels a lot better and quieter. So in games like Mario Kart World, you can feel the different sensations of drifting and hitting the wall, and I just can't wait to see what they do in other games like Metroid Prime 4. Hopefully you can experience the sensation of charging the weapon or scanning. And I love how versatile these are. You can just magnetically snap them off and have two controllers for a two-player experience, or snap them onto the included Joy-Con 2 grip for a proper controller ergonomic. The only issue I've experienced on this controller is it still has drift issues, which is when the analog stick starts to register movement on their own, even when you're not touching them. It's a little frustrating and it affects gameplay, but recalibrating the sticks in the controller's setting has helped. So if you run into drift issues, recalibrating should usually solve it by following the recalibration instructions and tilting the joystick in different directions. Let's move on to the design of the Switch 2. I know it's been criticized for the lack of any major changes, but personally, I like it, and I think it builds on the original Switch design that works well. The bumper buttons and joysticks are larger with the blue and red colors. The magnetic snap mechanism is really good. It has blacked out Nintendo Switch 2 logo on the back, and here we have the much improved tabletop stand. It's a full width metal kickstand that flips out so you can adjust the viewing angle, and it feels so much more sturdy than the flimsy little leg you flip out on the original Switch. Under the stand is a micro SD slot, and it supports up to 2 terabytes of additional storage, which is a must if you want to store a big game library in one place. I recommend using faster micro SD express cards if you can for a faster game load time and overall performance. Of course, you still have the game card slot at the top and it's backwards compatible, but Nintendo have introduced game key cards, which contain an online download rather than the full game on the card, and I'm not sure how I feel about that yet, but what do you think about this? Size-wise, it's much bigger and slightly heavier, but I found it comfortable to play on for hours on end without much of a problem. And the size and weight increase is totally worth the new, larger 7.9-inch screen. Everything I've played on this so far just looks great. Although it's still limited to a 1080p LCD screen, the HDR10 and 120Hz variable refresh rate support is awesome. The screen is sharp and vibrant, perfect for colorful Nintendo titles, and it just enhances the overall gaming experience with the updated hardware and graphics. It makes the original 720p Switch display look so dated when viewed side by side. Even the viewing angles are improved. It maintains image quality and colors when looking at it diagonally, so it's easier to share the screen in tabletop mode. It has to be one of the best displays Nintendo has put out yet. I did wish it came with an OLED display, but maybe we'll see that next time in an updated Switch 2 OLED version. One of the best things about the Nintendo Switch is just how versatile it still is. Handheld, tabletop, and docked 4K TV mode. Using it portably with Joy-Con attached to the side is perfect for when you're traveling or even just lounging around at home. I've used this mode the most and it feels great, and the larger buttons and joysticks are more ergonomic for adult hands, and there's less hand fatigue if you play for hours. Then there's tabletop mode when you flip out the updated kickstand and place it anywhere. This is the best when you want to play with friends anywhere, even on a train or a plane with the detachable magnetic Joy-Con 2s. It's just awesome for local multiplayer games, and Nintendo just does this so well. Then when docked, the new fans kick in to support that 4K HDR gaming experience, and games run smoothly at the higher resolutions with improved textures and lighting effects. I think the Switch 2's AI upscaling does a good job boosting the visuals, making games look sharper and more detailed on 4K TVs. It was loads of fun playing Mario Kart World on the couch with friends, or even just enjoying the updated Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition, which looks better than ever. But playing the Fortnite zombie mode, I noticed the frame rate dropped a lot when there were a lot of zombies on screen, which affected gameplay a little bit. The air intake on the dock goes through here and then exhausts out of the top, and overall I think the updated dock looks good in the living room, and when it is docked, the Switch 2 charges itself. Now here's my experience with the Switch 2 battery so far. It does depend heavily on how you use it, but I am getting about 2 to 3 hours playing Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Kart World at high brightness and that 120Hz refresh rate. But if I'm playing more indie games like Dave the Diver at lower brightness, I get more like 4 to 5 hours of battery life. This battery life is unfortunately lower than the Switch OLED model, but it should still be enough for most people to use every day. There's also no fast charging supported, so charging up to full takes about 3 hours, but you can just charge it on the dock or into any USB-C cable and continue playing. So when you turn on the Nintendo Switch 2, the whole user interface is a lot more polished and user-friendly. The main home screen is the same grid of your game icons, so if you use the Switch 1, you'll feel at home here. But you will also notice just how smooth and fast navigating the new UI is. This is thanks to the additional RAM and new processor, so menu loads and game swapping is so much faster. This is a great improvement if you use your Switch a lot. There's also more customization options in the settings, like 60 to 120Hz display modes, better battery management options like capping the charge at 90%, which I recommend you do. And now let's talk about the sound. And these speakers are a huge upgrade. They support spatial 3D audio for the first time, and you can immediately tell the difference when you boot up the Switch 2. The sound is a whole lot clearer. It's punchy, and in-game sound effects sound like they're coming from around you thanks to the better stereo separation, so it sounds more directional. I'm amazed at how amazing they sound. They are seriously really good for such a small device. There's even a built-in microphone with noise cancellation for that new game chat feature. And yeah, overall, these just sound leagues better than the previous Switch models. So the Switch 2 has become the fastest selling game console since launch, but is it really worth buying? I would say, yeah, absolutely. The improved design, display, and hardware is a significant upgrade, especially if you plan to use it docked on a 4K TV. And if you don't have the previous Nintendo Switch consoles, you're going to love how versatile this console is and the great library of original Nintendo games to explore. But if you already have the original Switch or even Switch OLED and you're not interested in playing Mario Kart World, you can probably hold off on upgrading until more games release for the Switch 2. So let me know what you think. Are you a fan of the new Switch 2, and do you have any recommendations for games to play? Drop a code word comment Luigi and I'll give it a like for watching right until the end. If you like this video, you want to check out the Asus ROG Ally X video here, as it's another really powerful handheld gaming device. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.